I'm Lorraine Decter here with KIXE, and we are going to be talking about religious tolerance here in Northern California. I'm very excited to have a great group of people here at the table and a great opportunity for us to talk to each other and also to talk to you and get your questions and find out maybe a little more than you knew about the different religions represented here this evening. So I want to introduce our guests. The first sitting next to me here is Imam Abu Bakr Salahuddin from the Reading Islamic Center. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I also have next to him Amarjit Singh from the Sikh Centre in Anderson.
Thanks for inviting.
Thanks for being here. Geri Copitch is from Temple Beth Israel, and you're a coordinator of sorts. I understand it's a small group, so you only have a rabbi occasionally, once a month?
Comes up once a month from the Hebrew Union College in Los Angeles, yes.
So you organize all the other things that happen?
Yes.
Excellent. And also with us at the end of the table, Reverend Patrick Blewett, the Dean of the A.W. Tozer Theological Seminary. That's out at Simpson College, correct?
Yes. Yep, at Simpson.
So I thought, people could call and ask questions about, that they've always probably are really dying to know something. So let's give the phone number now. So you can call 243-5493. That number again, 243-5493. So maybe first you could tell us about your center, your church, your institution. Tell us a little bit about it. How many people attend and why you think it's important that you have that center here in Northern California. So let's start with Reverend Blewett.
I work at Simpson. Roughly 1,000 students, and I work in the seminary, which is the training ground for folks who are looking to do ministry in Christian church settings. The school is associated with the Christian Missionary Alliance, which is a group that all over the country, literally around the world. But we do some training here. I've got 55 students in our program there, and then I just help out with churches around the North State.
Why do you think it's important that that institution is here?
Historically, I'll give you that part of it. Reading is halfway between San Diego and the Canadian border. And so originally started out in Seattle, and then it moved to San Francisco, and then as it got too expensive to be in the city, they tried to find where's a strategic spot on the I-5 corridor, and that's what brought it to Reading 25 years ago.
Interesting. So let's go next to Temple Beth Israel Representative Geri Copitch. Tell us about your group.
We have about 25 to 30 people who participate on a monthly basis, and we've had a temple in the area since 1979, a Jewish presence here since the gold rush. Mm-hmm. And we're the only Jewish center along the I-5 corridor between Chico and Ashland area.
Wow.
Yes. And we represent the Reform stream of Judaism, so the most relaxed and egalitarian in our practices.
So why do you think it's important that you have a center here in Reading?
I think it's important because when you're outside of the urban areas, as you can feel very isolated from other Jews. When I grew up on the East Coast, it just seemed like there were Jews all around me. I kind of took it for granted in a sense, and here it's nice to have a foundation, a group of other people with similar backgrounds.
Next, we go to Amarjit Singh from the Sikh Centre in Anderson. Tell us a little bit about the Sikh Centre and what you do there and why.
Actually, the Sikh Centre was inaugurated in 2007. April, we have a grand opening. So the importance of the organizing and establishing Sikh Centre in this area was that the Sikh community have to travel to Yuba city or Sacramento. That was the nearest, the Sikh temples known as Gurdwara, which means door to the God's house. So that's why Sikh temple was, established here to make outreach programs in the community, in the wider community. So people should know who the Sikhs are, because this is fifth, the youngest religion in the world. Mm-hmm. So especially after the 9/11 events on the U.S. soil, so Sikh identity was misidentified and is still in the process, So
And that's when we first met, when
That's-
you were opening.
that's right, yes. So bearing all these aspects and the needs of the Sikh congregation in this area, so there was an important need to set up a temple.
And you didn't have exactly the best opening year there.
I know there was a happening just before the grand opening.
Tell us what happened.
Actually, someone stole a big bulldozer, and tried to, demolish the temple. So later on, that guy, gentleman, was, caught by the police. So, and he introduced himself that he is going to, the Muslims are going to set up a mosque in the area. So later on, he found out that he misidentified the Sikh identity and the temple with the mosque, So, but we are very sorry for that gentleman that he was caught by the police, and we always pray for his release because he was caught in hate and crime.
A hate crime?
Yes.
Tell us what happened after that, though, because you had a lot of people come, and probably people you'd never met that came to your door.
That's right, yes. And that was also the first year of myself in the Sikh Centre when I came directly from India. So, and since that time we have been organizing so many multicultural events at the center and in the outreach. So that helped a lot, for the local community to know more about the Sikh identity.
But you had people of different faiths knock on your door and offer to help, didn't you?
That's right, and also there was a Peace and Hope garden was set up. People brought in plants, and flowers to, plant theirs, and we did it, and they are still growing. And
so it was kind of tragic thing that happened, but it ended up to be forming relationships and healing and understanding between different cultural groups and religions.
That's right, yes, it was good, and we believe that the trees growing in that garden, so they are growing the relationship as well within the community. And that helped a lot in bridging the communities, the local area.
And right here we have Imam Abu Bakr from the Reading Islamic Center. Tell us a little bit about the Islamic Center and how many people come there and why it's important.
Well, right now we the Islamic Center. We are on Cypress Avenue, and we have about 15 families that attend the services there on a regular basis on Fridays. Yes.
Why is it important to have that here in Reading?
Well, it's important to have it here in Reading because when I first moved here in 2001, there was no Islamic institution here, and I had to travel from all the way down to Sacramento to the worships, to services. So it's important in a way that when the Islamic Center of Reading was started here, then they provided a place for the Muslims in Reading to come and pray without having to go to Sacramento or Chico, some other place, because I think the closest place to us in 7 counties was Chico. So right now, we are the last Islamic institution or center in California. So we have a lot of travelers that are traveling south that stops in here, stops in at our center, and those who are traveling north also stop at our center for prayer. So it provides a place of worship for those Muslims that are local. That's what I see that's very important, that we do have a local place for local Muslims to come and worship and to pray.
And I just wonder why you think it's important in Northern California that these institutions are going. I know, like on a personal level, people want a place to personally go for their family. But on a bigger scale, why do you guys think it's important to have these varied religions represented right here?
Well, what I see coming from Islamic perspective, it gives people the opportunity to not go by assumptions of what they may have heard, but they can go straight to these different faith groups and get what that particular faith is actually about.
So do all of your faiths invite people who are not of your faiths to come and
Certainly,
find out
do.
more about what you do and what you believe and what you think?
Yes.
That's right, yes. Actually,
Yes, the
Sikh
door
religion, Abu, the Sikh religion is about inclusivity. So the activities at the Sikh Centre, they are worldwide recognized and open to the wider community. So we have a great example of that, the center of Sikhism known as Golden Temple in Amritsar in Punjab state of India, which was formed by the 5th Guru. So he set up 4 doors, one on each side of the temple, which marks that the Sikh religion invites people from all directions. And that's what the Sikh community is following, those directions all over the world, you know.
And you have a big event in Yuba City.
That's right, it's coming up
Tell us about that. That's huge.
November the 5th, yes, attracted by more than 100,000 people in one day from morning to evening.
So if somebody wanted to go and experience that, there's a parade, what would they see and experience if they went to Yuba City?
They'll find more than, I think, 100 food stalls. You know, so you even can't make choice, you know, from morning to evening, which food you want to leave, which you want to enjoy. Right? So apart from that, it's not just going there and eating it. You can take with you, you know, and there are hundreds of food samples too, which are free given to the people, so they can take that too.
You have part of your religion is involved in feeding people?
That's right. This is the example set by Guru Nanak, who founded the religion in 1469. So the first one is reciting God's name. Second one is kirt karo, which means we must work, you know, for our earnings. And the third one is sharing. So sharing whatever you have, share with the community, share with the poorer people, share with the needy people. Like we have recently even the happenings, the wildfires in Napa Valley and Yuba. So local Sikh temples, they are helping out the people with water and food, you know, other stuff.
Our phone number, in case you want to call, 243-5493.
I don't want to cut Amarjit off, but I love going to the Sikhs meetings whenever they have a meeting.
Oh, the multicultural.
Because they always have food. They always have food.
Hospitality
Always
is
have
important.
That's
And
right.
Well,
yeah.
what about,
we invite
I was going to say, what
everybody.
about the Islamic Center? What kind of food do you have going on over there?
Well, they don't really have food going on until Ramadan. And during Ramadan, we have what is called the iftar. That's the meal, the evening meal that you eat in the evening. And there's an array of food. I had to get used to eating spicy foods, you know, at first, because the members of the community, they all are from different countries. I think we have 8 different countries are represented in the community.
Wow, I bet that's
From 8
fascinating.
different yeah, it's hard too. It's hard because you got like people from 8 different countries, and so you have what is called schools of thought in Islam, the 4 schools of thought. So you got certain people belong to this school of thought, and certain people belong to that school of thought. So, as the imam, I have to pick certain topics that all groups, no matter what school of thought you have, will agree on.
So,
But it's in fact, when you look at the Facebook, it says all invited, Sunni, Shiites, whatever. All we ask is that when you come, just don't start no trouble. You know, be respectful, and that's all we ask. And our doors are open to anybody that want to come. Open to anyone that want to come. So, you know, if you disagree with what's going on, then go somewhere else.
interesting. How about over at Simpson College. So you're teaching people who are going out as
Be
missionaries?
pastors and missionaries primarily.
Are you teaching anything about food and how food is involved in teachings?
I practice that more than I teach it. Food is just part of the culture. We use the language, it's the breaking of bread, and that's the basis of fellowship and getting acquainted with one another. And so it's just important for students to learn that it's not just what they know, it's not just what they can preach or teach, it's about how they interact with people, and there's a whole series of cultures that you just have to bring together. So that's always the fun part, is to help them beginning to see what that looks like. And even within Christianity, in that sense, we've got all of the various subcategories of Christianity, whether it's the Eastern Orthodox community, or the Catholic community, or the Protestant community, which is now celebrating 500 years this month. Or in this kind of a community, you end up with the Bethel charismatic community, which doesn't necessarily fit in some of the other, and so you just kind of go, okay, tell me about your group and why you do what you do. And that's part of the fun, that's part of the excitement. And so what we learn to do with other groups is what we've got to learn to do even within Christianity. It's probably more, we probably struggle more with tolerance issues within the faith than outside the faith.
Isn't that fascinating? Talk about a little bit more about that.
I think we're more tolerant when we know someone else has a differing belief system. But when we say we're all this or we're all that, then it's like, no, you're not the same as me, so therefore you're not the same. And then that's what creates some of that resistance that we see in a community. So in a community like Reading with, I don't know, 100, 150 churches, with the predominant grouping of those being Christian, there's probably more fights between those churches than there are between the Christian churches and the Sikh Center or the Muslim Center or the synagogue. I mean, it's just, we just end up squabbling. That's probably the way. And so for us, it's about how do we slow down enough to listen and ask the questions, why do you do what you do? What's your basis for it? Why is that different than what I do? And it's not about being right or wrong. It's about where did this tradition or this practice come from, and begin to appreciate those differences.
I think that when we the biggest division that we have among the human family is when we start putting labels on one another or going by labels, and I think those labels is what keep us so divided.
Well, as you were saying, that people have assumptions, and so by hosting events and welcoming people into our places of worship, people can find out what the truth is, separate that out from whatever rumors or misinformation they grew up with just because they've never known people about their faith traditions.
So what do people here ask you? What's this like? What are these common questions that like they always ask you and you just
So
scratch
what's
your head?
Hanukkah?
Yeah. So, right.
That would be one of them, yeah.
Yes. What
Or
is
so,
Hanukkah?
someone
Or
had
is-
asked, is Hanukkah the Jewish Christmas?
Yes. And it's not. Because Christmas is a very important, the first or second most major holiday in Christianity, whereas Hanukkah is actually a pretty minor holiday. And it's, I'd say in the last 50, 60 years, become kind of elevated because of its proximity to Christmas. And the commercialization of Christmas has also meant the commercialization of Hanukkah, that I think a lot of maybe more secular Jewish families feel like they have to provide the Christmassy experience for their Jewish children. So, but it's really a much more minor holiday.
So what's a big
set up
major
for it.
holiday in Judaism?
Major holiday just passed is called Yom Kippur, and that's the Day of Atonement. And it's not really a festive holiday in that sense. You spend the day in fast and in prayer, asking for forgiveness from God, predominantly for transgressions against God. And we're supposed to have spent the month before, the month of Elul, looking inward and asking forgiveness from our friends and family.
And then you have to break the fast. So
Yes.
there's food.
And then there's always food. Can't have a Jewish event without food. You might have to wait 27 hours, but there'll be food.
What kind?
Lorraine is hooked on the food.
I think so.
So
What-
Actually, my son told me to ask about
That's
the
good
food.
food.
He said, make
the
sure
good
you
food
ask
piece.
about the
I
food.
love Passover for the food.
That is a good one. But before we talk about that, one of the traditions our temple does is on Shabbat, on Friday night, we break bread. We have a challah, a breaded egg bread, and we make a challah chain. So it's not just one person up front giving a blessing before we eat the bread, but you're supposed to touch somebody who's touching somebody who's touching somebody who's touching the challah. And it's a way that we kind of all connect as a community.
So you really do break bread together.
We do,
You
yes. And so,
Fascinating. And then in Christianity, you may not call it food, but you've got sacrament.
Well, you've
And
got
how
sacrament.
That's related to food, but it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe you could explain.
So most groups would have sacraments, which would be the wafers and the wine, which represents the body and blood of Christ, and it's about the reminder of what sacrifice He made on our behalf. So that becomes a component in life. But most of us, we find ways of having the potlucks. A church potluck is kind of the language that we use, and the different. It doesn't make any difference what the subgroup is. They've always got an excuse to get together to eat, and I think that's just life, being human. It's just the importance of that.
Here's a question that's come in from someone. This is a couple of part question. Is there an overarching tenet that you feel is in common with all the religious groups? And then the follow-up question is, how do you leverage that to bring disparate groups together? So
well, I would think doing good works and helping out those in need is something that all
common
religions
through all,
share.
Yeah,
doing good works.
charity.
Charity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Praying for world peace, every day.
So how the question then with those things is, how do you leverage what you all do that's in common, the praying, the doing good work, and the charity? How do you leverage that to bring disparate groups together in community? That's the question.
Well, my thing is, especially with the SCIF, the Interfaith Forum, the people that I work with,
That's the Shasta County Interfaith Forum.
is that we focus on those things that we have in common and those things that will bring about the betterment of everybody instead of our differences, which is when you look at the different religions and what they believe in and what they do, what their differences is like that. So instead of all focusing on that little teeny spot, you focus on the big thing. And I think we all, everybody wants to get dope dealers and criminals and out of our neighborhoods and stuff. And they don't want that. They want the peaceful environment in order to raise their children in and not be afraid to send their children to school. Everybody wants that. So if that is not narrowed down to one particular religion, but all religions, people want that. And when they come together and they all strive for that, then they don't focus so much on the, my association with my patriot brother. Hey, we don't sit down and argue about the differences or what this book says, or I believe this and you don't believe that. We look at the things where we identify with. Okay, we need to help the needy, the poor. That's what we go out and do.
And you all know each other, right, through the Interfaith Forum?
Yes,
Yeah.
we know.
It's like the Interfaith Thanksgiving meal that's coming up. So
Yeah.
In November.
it's a way that all the faith groups come together to give thanks and to help others.
So how, to follow this viewer's question, how does the Interfaith Forum leverage that through this, say, Thanksgiving event, through this event? This might be an example for other communities as well. How do you leverage this to bring these groups together, and what do you accomplish greater as a group?
Sometimes leverage is just the result of hearing the journey and process that some group has had. So for example, this wouldn't be part of that, but I'll give you an example. American Baptists, 150 years ago, they all clustered together, and then along came something cultural called the Civil War, which split them into Northern Baptists and Southern Baptists. Well, when the war was over, there was enough damage done relationally that those groups didn't become American Baptists again. Now you had three groups
I
out
just
there.
was in the South, and we've been studying the history, and it's like they were going through the missionary Baptists, the hard shell Baptists, the soft shell Baptists.
Oh, yeah.
I was amazed at how many
It
different
just
groups.
proliferates there. And so sometimes it's about helping them to slow down long enough to hear, when were we together? What separated us? Is that still something important today, or has that gone away? And so that becomes part of it. As an educator, part of the thing that I do, I'm going to promo a book. This is by Oxford University Press, called A Concise Introduction to World Religions, and it's got all the major pieces, and it's written not from any one source, but it's a delightful piece, so that for me, if I don't know about a group, for example, when I came here, I didn't know the Sikh community. I was able to look it up, begin to read, so that I felt comfortable enough knowing their vocabulary and their language enough that I could then make contact and go, when can I connect up? What are some of your events? And so sometimes it's about starting off just reading about another group, and then once we begin to do that, then it's about how do we interact, and then the safety that it's okay to ask questions and that there is no inappropriate question within the communities.
And when I was a kid, I studied a lot of different religions. I was lucky enough to have access to the library, to books and places like that. But you know, that's something parents could do, is have books and information about religions, encyclopedia, something available. But it brings up something that I was kind of interested in asking about children in faith. How do you, in your religious institutions that you run, what do you teach the kids about getting along with others in the community? How is that, what are you teaching the kids as part of your faith?
Actually, we take the examples from Guru's life and the preachings from the Sikh Holy Scripture known as Guru Granth Sahib. So that's the message conveyed on every Sunday service. And so kids born in this country, they know a little bit of Punjabi language. Most of the services in Punjabi language. Then we have the English service to explain them. So then keep them within the religion and cultural, boundaries. So we have Punjabi language classes, the Sikh study classes in the Sikh Gurdwaras, through which they come. It's like a supplementary school.
So when you have a kid, a child, a group of children from a family, what do you want to make sure they learn on a Sunday besides the language? What do you want them to take inside them and be as a person that they get from the religion?
The most important thing is teaching them about the surroundings,
The what?
Surroundings.
The surroundings.
Yes. So surroundings in the form of in your neighborhood, you go to the church and you invite the people to your church, So that's for important. Then we have Vaisakhi festival every year in the month of May.
So community is really important, and it's not just your religious community.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. Teaching them about the other communities too, and how to share your experiences. Right. So with the other people, but whom you meet them through school, you meet them through other cultural events, you meet them through festivals at your temple. So
how about the kids at Temple Beth Israel? What do you want them to have?
I want them to learn that part of being Jews is giving back to the community in one form or another. So going out and doing volunteer work, community service projects, and that Judaism is the right religion for Jewish families, but there are other religions that are right for other people, and that certainly is all right to have we encourage friends of other faith traditions. It's a way to enrich ourselves and learn more about others, but that we should be part of community and not isolate ourselves from community.
I know you want to jump in on that. Go ahead. How about our Islamic Center?
Well, the Islamic Center, as far as the children, as far as teaching them how to behave, we want to take the in the Quran it says that Prophet Muhammad is the example for all human beings to follow. So we're talking about his moral character, those to follow, and the articles of faith.
So you're talking about knowing right and wrong, kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, yes, more. How he conducted himself as a father, how he conducted himself as a ruler, all the different hats that he had to carry, that he carried on, how you should conduct yourself, how you conduct yourself in war, and also that we know that during the life of Prophet Muhammad, when he moved from Mecca to Medina, he drew up a constitution. There was a constitution, and in that constitution, he said that the people in Medina was one nation, and everybody has the same rights. A non-Muslim had the same right as a non-Muslim, and when you look in the Quran, the 6 articles of faith, it says as Muslims we believe in God, and we believe in all the prophets that God sent, and we believe in all the books that He sent. So, in order for you to believe in all the books and all the prophets, then you have to read and study and know something about the prophets, their message, and those, and at the same time you gaining knowledge of those who belong to those different faiths. And so we also taught that you don't say anything, I don't say anything bad about attack what he believes in, because then in turn he may attack what I believe in. And so instead of us meeting,
Not real productive, huh?
so instead of us coming together, we draw further apart, and it creates that
I think it's-
apartness and anger between the two groups. So
I think it'd be really interesting to find out at Simpson what Reverend Blewett does, because here he's teaching younger people, college students, not all younger, I'm sure, some are probably older, but here are the younger ones who are going to go out and teach in different churches and different institutions. So what about the kids and what they need to learn and what they need to get out of being part of the religion?
At the core of what we're trying to do, not only at the college, but I think in Christian circles, and it's the same in all of our faith groups, we all have a holy book. And it's our holy book that gives us our standards for life and practice and faith. And so the objective is, how do we motivate our kids, whether at 5 or at 15 or at 25, to get into the holy book, and not only to know it, but to practice it, to have it become internalized. And so that's the challenge for us. And in that, I think in Christianity, what I would say is that the holy book, and I think we'd all say this, the holy book provides the basis on which we establish our moral structures, and how we relate to the rest of the culture around us. So I would agree, it's not about isolation, it's about how do we mix it up in our real world, being who God's made us to be, and encouraging each other in that process. So when I pastored and raised my own kids, at times I see in Christianity folks who want to isolate their families from the community, and it was like, no, that's not what we want to do. We want our kids to be a part of the community, because that's what's going to keep them balanced and healthy, and finding the reasons for why the book is important. in guiding us. So that becomes part of the pieces for us. And so at the college age and into the adult world, it's, okay, so how are you going to be as a parent? What's that going to look like? How do you continue those traditions that have been valuable, or which traditions are you going to say, no, I want to go a different direction? And so that's why we end up allowing flexibility for them to explore and figure out where they want to be in that process.
Our phone number, if you have any questions for our guests, Amarjit Singh from the Sikh Centre in Anderson, Geri Copitch from Temple Beth Israel, Reverend Blewett, we just spoke with from Simpson College, and Imam Abu Bakr Salahuddin from the Reading Islamic Center. Give us a call at 243-5493. And in just a moment, we're going to go through some of these questions pretty quickly. There's several questions here I think we could run through. One is, Simpson College open to non-Christian students? That's from Deborah in Shasta Lake.
Good question. Yes and no. There are differing programs. So a person who isn't of faith probably would not want to take a pastoral program. You know, just some logic in some of those kinds of things.
But there's a lot of people going like to become teachers.
To be
that are
teachers,
from
to
different
nurses.
religions, correct?
Yeah, we've got
Music.
we have a variety of backgrounds in that setting.
Do each of your religions believe in one God? We'll start with you.
Christianity would say it's monotheistic. Some of my Jewish friends and some of my Muslim friends would say, no, your Trinity kind of stuff makes that look kind of strange.
Interesting.
So there's some diversity of answers there. So it's yes and no.
Geri Copitch from Temple Beth Israel.
Most definitely one God in Judaism. It's
Yep.
part of our central founding principle.
Amarjit Singh, how about for the Sikh religion?
Very true Guru Nanak's message, just in one God, only one God. And He's the creator and restorer and preserver of all of this universe and humanity. So He's formless. He never comes
Formless.
He never comes in the cycle of death and birth. And to signify this, to remind us in our daily life, that's why we have been given this bracelet to wear every time. It's known as kara. It's a bracelet which reminds, it's round in form, which signifies the continuity of the God. So one God who is continuously always be there. When there was no time, He was there. When the time starts, when we came into the time, so He was true. He is true now, and He'll be true in the future.
And how about at the Islamic Center?
One God. One God. One Creator.
No Trinity?
No, one God who created everything. And we believe that the one God, the Creator, there's nothing of His creation that is equal with Him, the Creator.
So that leads us to Ripley in Reading says, enjoying the show. What is the greatest good?
The greatest good.
Amarjit, you have an answer?
Obedience to God.
Oh, we have an answer here. Obedience to God from our Imam Abu Bakr Salahuddin.
Yes.
Obedience to God. Amarjit?
Your firm faith in God. Firm faith, you know.
Doing for others.
I'd probably go love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself, in terms of the relationships there.
Excellent. You know, we have a question that says, can you repeat the name of the book Patrick referred to earlier?
It is a concise introduction to world religions, Oxford University Press by Oxtoby and Siegel. And I'll leave information here at the station if somebody's interested in that, or they can contact us.
I'm not sure I totally understand
Got
this
a plug
question.
on that.
Susan of Reading, how do you manage to help their congregation with government that may not believe the same or treat different? Does anyone understand this question?
Well,
I'm
I
not sure
do.
quite-
And in Islam, the government and say the order, and that we are taught that as long as you are in a foreign country, wherever it is, like us here, to obey the laws of the land.
Ah, okay.
as long as they don't conflict with
So,
our religion.
The laws of the religion versus the laws of the land, if they're
Sure.
not in sync. I think that's what we're saying,
so
we're
if
talking
they're
about.
not in sync,
Okay.
you're not compelled to follow that which is goes against your religious
Conscience.
belief. So,
Right.
and that is very, very easy. You know, the majority of the government, the laws of the government, or laws on the land are compatible with the Islamic law. So we'll have no problem doing that. But I mean, like if the government here was to say, okay, we want everybody to eat pork chops, then hey, then they would have a problem
Then we're
with
going to have a
us.
problem.
That's right.
But other than that, yeah, you obey the laws of the land as long as it doesn't conflict with your religion, and I believe that goes for all religions.
I wonder if her question had to do with the sense of hostility towards some non-Christian religions that seems to be from some in government. But
Not sure. And so Susan Reddick, if you want to call back, 243-5493.
I guess how
And clarify the
how
question. If we didn't get it right, you can go ahead and do that. What are some of your daily practices that help bring you closer to God? We've heard from Amarjit Singh about the Sikh Center, just about the bracelet, what that means. That's part of something you see every day.
That's right, yes. But I mean, apart from this, more practicably, we get up early in the morning. So if I give an example of the Sikh practice at the Sikh Center every day, so the priest will arrange the Holy Scripture from its specially decorated bedroom, which is within the temple hall, prayer hall. So we'll bring to the raised platform in a respectful way. So they open the Holy Scripture. And when they open the Holy Scripture from the left-hand side page, the first hymn is known as the Divine Order of the Day. Right, so when people come to the temple in their own time to seek blessings of the Almighty, so they'll come, and that Divine Order of the Day is always displayed outside on the screen. So when people come to pray to the temple, so they will read the Divine Order, and they try to live their daily life as per the
So
Divine
what's an
Order.
example of
So-
one divine order?
So, for example, the hymn would say, oh, look, this is about sharing, this is about community help, this is about your internal achievement or enrichment spiritually. So in that form, so people, they try to live their life accordingly.
So, Patrick Blewett, in Christianity, what are some of the daily practices?
Some of the practices would be reading from the Bible, which would be the Holy Book. And depending on our traditions, which segment of Christianity, sometimes there would be an Old Testament reading, a New Testament reading in terms of the general letters, and then a gospel reading. And then a time of prayer becomes that time of reflection as to, okay, Lord, what should this do to me? How should I respond to what you've said? Is it a command? Is it an example? Is it a prohibition? Is it a promise? And a little bit of reflection time in that process would be some of the things that we could do.
How about over at the Sikh Center? What are some of the daily practices? I'm sorry, the Islamic Center.
Okay, the Islamic Center, where is we say the 5 prayers daily. And the 5 prayers daily, you say the 5 prayers daily is like a battery. So you get recharged 5 times a day.
So you say
And-
all of them each time? All 5 prayers each time? Or
No.
You
say
separate them each
You
time?
got the morning prayer, which is called Fajr, and then the afternoon prayer is called Dhuhr. Then you have the midday prayer, and then you have the evening prayer, which is Maghrib, and then you have the last prayer before you go to bed.
Are
at
those
night.
prayers always the same, each and every day, or are they
Every
different?
day, they come in at certain times of the day, and every Muslim is required to say those 5.
Can you share one with us?
Uh,
What or part of one about what?
The Al-Fatiha in the morning prayer. The Al-Fatiha is like, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Okay, the Al-Fatiha it goes Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim, Ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Now, the Al-Fatiha, the requirement, you are required to say the Al-Fatiha in every prayer. You have to say that. No, your prayer is not accepted if it's not.
And what does it mean?
The Al-Fatiha is the opening, say the opening, it is the opening chapter, the opening surah of the Quran when you open it. It is a prayer for guidance. It is a prayer that you're asking God to guide you on the straight path and not the path of those that have gone astray. You're asking God for God's help. That only help you can really get is from God. You say in God, you put your trust in God. And you know, He is also the master of the day of religion or the master of the day of judgment. So that's basically what you're saying in that prayer, and you have to say that one, say the Al-Fatiha in every prayer that you say during the day. But and also as a reminder to the Muslim that everything that a Muslim is supposed to do, he's supposed to start it off with Bismillah, in the name of God. So whatever he does, you know, while I get ready to take drink over here, I say Bismillah. In the name of God. So that is also, we don't wear the bracelet like the Sikhs, but you know, if you say Bismillah before something, you're not going to go to doing something sinful, because you reminded that what you are doing, you're doing in God's name, with God's name. So it is a constant reminder to you also.
How about in Judaism? Daily practices?
So in Judaism, traditional Jews say prayers every morning when they wake. Things like thanks that all my organs are working, and thanks that I've waken up from my nightly slumber. But then there's also, we say the Shema daily, usually upon waking and before going to bed at night. And that's just the reaffirming that the Lord is God and God is one. You know, the one God.
Can you
above
share
everything.
a little bit of it?
In Hebrew?
Yes.
It would be Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So hear, O Israel, meaning descendants of Jacob, whose name became Israel. The Lord is God, the Lord is one.
We got a call from Susan back.
Okay. That's good.
How do you feel about laws conflicting with practices? So we did kind of
Okay.
zone in on that. How to deal with things to keep your obligations intact. Specifically, what's going on with government that conflicts with your beliefs? And do you feel you're dealing with persecution? Do you speak out against persecution, or do you follow the law?
Well,
That kind of gets right down to it.
it does. So, boy, it seems like sometimes in government there's less of a sense of helping out the needy, that it's a kind of pull yourself by your own bootstraps mentality. And in Judaism, as I think in many of the other faiths here, it's more that we should all take it upon ourselves to help out those in need.
Yeah.
But that's not something that necessarily our small synagogue or a small Islamic Center or the Sikh Center can do on our own, or a school. That sometimes we need to all contribute as a community to work together.
So
for
are you feeling persecution in your faiths here in this area?
No, I don't think, because if we talk about your religious practice, it's more within the prayer hall where congregation come and get together. So there is no outside interference in that, and I can't see even in the other organizations too. So
Some of the historic conflict would have been back, especially in the Vietnam era, and we'll probably see some more of it recycle back through, when we had conscientious objectors to military service. We don't see that kind of language right now. because it's a volunteer military. But that became one of those times when a person's religious beliefs and government obligation for war put people in conflict. And so we had ways of being able to address it through conscientious objectorship and then being able to serve in other ways so that there wasn't conflict. But that would be the kind of thing where things in the past have been that way.
I would add something in here since President Obama was president, so during his tenure, the Sikh belief system was not accepted in the military. Now with the turban and beard, you
sure.
can be a army officer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's changed.
Yes, that's changed. So we can't see any conflict with this, with the government, the national government or the local government.
Well, like I have received a lot of times people are shocked when I say, oh, well, yeah, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I belong to VBA Chapter 357. I belong to Vietnam, and they're shocked saying, and you a Muslim? Yeah.
Like there's
Right.
something that doesn't go along with
Right.
I think that also what was in persecution or treatment, I think a lot of Muslims felt persecuted when President Trump put that Muslim ban,
The travel
a lot
ban.
of travel ban. I think that there's a whole lot of Muslims that felt that they were being isolated, pointed out, or certain out, because we're seeing across the country where it was like when before we didn't see too much of the say hate crimes, but when that order came down, the travel ban and all that stuff came out, then it seemed like it kind of opened the door for all across the country. We were hearing about Muslim women getting beat. The man on the train, and I think it was in Oregon, that the two men that came to the aid of that were killed, coming to the aid of, and those type of things. So
So you must think that there are some misconceptions of your religion that need to be clarified, do you think?
There is a whole lot of misconceptions about Islam. I think one of the statements is that Islam is the most misunderstood religion. Most of the time when the word equated with Muslim is terrorist. So, when you speak about the, say, the Las Vegas shooting, they call that the shooter. They called him the shooter. Now, if his name been Muhammad or something like that, they'd have called it a terrorist act. Well, that act was a terrorist act because it caused terror, and so it was a terrorist act. But I'm saying certain words, semantics, to enter into the words causes people ignorant. When I say ignorant, I don't mean that they actually are stupid. I'm just saying it causes ignorant people who want to act foolish. They give them a reason to act foolish.
One of the things in a school setting, which is separate from a church setting, it's far clearer in terms of the freedom of religion that's in place. But in a school setting, we end up with the question of discrimination. There are legal forms of discrimination or selection versus illegal forms. And so California legislature last year had some items that they wanted to say we would not be eligible for certain funding because we didn't do it the way they wanted it done, even though we were still in compliance with federal law. And so those become kinds of things that take place in school settings that impact law and church and some of those kind of dynamics at play.
We only have a few minutes left, and we could just do this again.
Such fun.
I
Sure,
think
yes.
that would be great. We have a question here for Amarjit Singh from the Sikh Centre. Are you always required to wear the turban, and are there any rules about facial hair that have to do with your religion?
Actually, Sikhs are not allowed to cut their hair from any part of the body. So to maintain your hair, you have been given a design of a turban. You design in that way, but you will find some Sikhs, they tie turban in the round form. They just wrap it in the round form. So I've been designing in this style. So different design, different styles, all came from Punjab state of India, where Sikhs were natively from. So as long as beard, we are not, as I just mentioned, we are not allowed to cut any part of the hair from any part of the body. So to maintain it, we can design it on our own way, but you cannot cut or remove.
And this person asked too, with these, is there any rule or anything about facial hair in your religion?
Islam.
No. No.
Maybe that's a
lot
misconception.
it is, because we have a lot of Muslims that have no hair at all. Because you don't have no hair at all doesn't mean that you're not no Muslim. When we go back to the days of the Prophet and his Sahabas or his friends, in Arabia, they grew beards. Today, you see non-Muslims as well as Muslims wearing beards. But what I'm saying is that whether you wear a beard or not doesn't make you Muslim. A lot of people wear beards because they say they're doing the sunnah, following the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad.
And it becomes more cultural. When I'm in the Middle East, in Jordan or in Israel, I'll wear a beard. It's the appropriate thing in those parts of the world. Whereas here, it's easier for me to be clean shaven for the context and where I work.
This has been a great conversation, and we do, some people have written in, how do we get to know these other groups? So you can go visit any of these institutions
Always,
we have here.
yes.
Reading Islamic Center, represented by our Imam here, Abu Bakr Salahuddin, thank you for being here.
Yes.
And also the Sikh Center in Anderson, Amarjit Singh, thank you for being here. Temple Beth Israel, Geri Copitch is representing, and
Thanks for having me.
and Reverend Blewett from A.W. Tozer Theological Seminary over at Simpson College. Thanks for being here. So they wanted to make sure that we talked about a couple of things, because we're just about ready to go. There's a Vaisiki celebration that takes place at the Sikh Center. That's in July?
No, in May.
May? It's in May every year?
Yes, every year.
There's a human book event in October at Shasta College on the 25th of October, and that's a really good experience to meet a lot of people from different religious groups. And the Thanksgiving Interfaith Service for the Interfaith Forum is at the LDS Stake on Churn-Creek Road, Sunday, November 19th. Thanks so much for joining us here on KIXE for North State Issues. We're so glad you joined us. So many questions. You can ask these questions to these people, yourself, and to people that are at their place of religion, and they're inviting you to come and find out more.
Always welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.